She hands it off to Jackson. Jackson uses the screen, lost the handle, bounced past to Plum. Plum loses it, regains it, throws it up for grabs. Grabbed by Boston out of the sky, and we're going to have a foul here. No, a timeout taken by Indiana.
What I love the most about this squad is that, just like O said, like we instill confidence, the coach instills confidence that any shot you take, shoot it with confidence because we trust you and we trust that you're going to make it. And I feel like that's just really helped us down the line because no matter who comes in, no matter who steps up, we're all just really happy for each other.
Picture this. For key players sitting in street clothes, your biggest star nowhere to be found, and you're walking into enemy territory against a team that's owned you all season long. Most teams would wave the white flag. Most teams would accept defeat before the first whistle even blows. But the Indiana Fever? They just delivered the most gut-wrenching, heart-stopping victory of their entire season. And Aliyah Boston made sure everyone knew exactly what this team is made of. What happened in Los Angeles wasn't just a basketball game. It was a statement. It was proof that sometimes the most unlikely heroes rise when everything seems lost. And sometimes the words spoken after the final buzzer
Fever down! Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah!
carry more weight than the 48 minutes that came before them. Boston dropped 22 points, grabbed 11 rebounds, and snatched a career-high 6 steals. But it was her post-game message that has every Fever fan across the country losing their minds right now. This victory represents Indiana's most important win of the year. And here's why that's not hyperbole. Despite mounting injuries that would cripple most rosters and momentum that felt shakier than a house of cards in a windstorm, one unlikely hero emerged from the shadows. The win has
nature of our team. I think one other thing that sometimes goes missed is just the character of these women, right? Especially this group that's been here, that's gone through all of this, and then the ones that we brought in. We brought in with O and Shay and AP. I mean, these are women who care about winning. These are women who care about one another. These are women who sacrifice.
Potential to change everything for Indiana's season trajectory. And if you're as pumped up about this team as we are, drop a comment saying big Fever win, because what we witnessed tonight was nothing short of miraculous. But let's rewind and understand just how impossible this victory really was. The Indiana Fever walked into Los Angeles facing what most analysts were calling a death sentence. Caitlin Clark, their superstar rookie, remained sidelined. Sophie Cunningham was out. Sydney Carlson and Ari McDonald were unavailable. For guards, for playmakers, for voices completely missing from their...
Steph mentioned, whenever she sees you with the 2 black eyes, she smiles in a way because it just exemplifies your toughness. Do you feel tough in these kinds of situations with these 2 black eyes?
I mean, that's what people keep telling me. Every time she sees me, she smiles and then she says, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, you don't need to be sorry. This is what it is. And when I'm playing, I forget about it, and then I go and look at the mirror. I'm like, oh shit, they're still there. So yeah, I don't really think too much about it because I don't necessarily feel them all the time.
Yeah, and you're still able to see completely fine.
Yep.
All right.
Rotation. When you lose that much talent, especially players who handle the ball and create opportunities for others, most teams don't just struggle, they completely fall apart. This wasn't some meaningless game in the middle of August where you can afford to experiment with lineups and see what happens. This carried significant playoff weight, with every possession potentially determining whether Indiana's season would extend beyond the regular schedule or end in heartbreak. The team was forced to rely solely on grit and belief in whoever was left standing, knowing that one wrong move, one mental lapse, one moment of giving up could cost them everything they'd worked for all season long. But the challenge went deeper than just missing players. The Los Angeles Sparks had beaten Indiana in every single meeting this season. 3 matchups, 3 losses, and each previous defeat was more frustrating than the last. It's one thing to lose to a better team, but when you keep falling to the same opponent over and over again, doubt starts creeping into every corner of your mind. You start questioning whether you have what it takes, whether you're good enough, whether this is just how the story ends. The standings made everything worse. The Fever were sitting in 6th place, desperately clinging to their playoff spot like someone hanging off a cliff by their fingertips. Los Angeles was lurking just 2 games behind in 9th place, and that gap could shrink in a heartbeat. Every game mattered, but this one felt like it could determine their entire future. Adding salt to the wound, Indiana had suffered 4 losses in their last 5 games. Doubt had seeped into every conversation about this team like poison spreading through their system. People were asking the question nobody wanted to hear. Were they collapsing at the worst possible time? Looking fragile from the outside with only 5 games remaining in their regular season, the Fever were forced to use patchwork lineups that would make most coaches lose sleep at night. This wasn't about finding the perfect rhythm anymore or executing the beautiful basketball they dreamed of playing. It was about surviving every single possession, treating each moment like a life or death situation where one mistake could end everything. Every player stepping onto the court had to exceed their usual role demands. Anyone touching the floor had to carry weight beyond what their typical stat line would suggest. Role players had to become stars. Bench warmers had to become clutch performers. Everyone had to dig deeper than they ever had before. But instead of cracking under this immense pressure, the Fever refused to break, setting the stage for someone unexpected to become the hero this story desperately needed. Enter Odyssey Sims, a name most casual fans probably weren't circling on their bingo cards for player most likely to save Indiana's season. This night was supposed to be about survival with a short-handed roster, just trying to keep their heads above water long enough to steal a win. Instead, this 31-year-old veteran, who wasn't even part of the starting lineup, became the heartbeat of the entire game. And here's where it gets personal. Sims used to call the Sparks her home. She wore that jersey. She knew those players. She understood exactly what beating them would mean. At this stage in her career, most people don't expect a backup guard to carry an offense. The scouting reports don't circle her name the way they do for superstars like Aliyah Boston or Caitlin Clark. She's supposed to come in, provide steady minutes, maybe hit an open shot or 2, and get out of the way. But when your leading scorer, Kelsey Mitchell, is struggling, shooting just 5 for 14 from the field, that's typically when the cracks start to show. That's when teams fold. That's when seasons end in disappointment. Instead, Sims turned herself into the answer nobody saw coming. She finished with 21 points total, but raw numbers only tell half the story. It was the timing of each bucket that turned heads and stopped hearts. You could see her calm under pressure, pushing the tempo when the Fever needed energy, then slowing things down when Los Angeles threatened to grab momentum and run away with the game. She became the primary release valve in the closing stretch, driving through traffic like she was 20 years old again, pulling up for mid-range shots with the confidence of someone who'd been waiting her entire career for this exact moment. Then came the defining moment that will be replayed in highlight reels for years to come. Just 13.6 seconds left on the clock. Indiana clinging to hope by the thinnest of threads. The ball found its way into Sims' hands, and she rose up for that quick floater she'd perfected through years of grinding in gyms most people never see. It dropped through clean as a whistle. That was the shot that gave Indiana the lead for good and silenced the Staples center crowd like someone had just unplugged the entire building. You could feel the emotional weight lifting off every Fever player as Sims ran back down the floor. Her arms were calm. Her face was clear, moving almost like she knew this moment belonged to her all along. After the game, when the microphones came out and reporters started asking questions, Sims delivered a line that captured everything about this incredible night. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That philosophy embodied Indiana's entire approach. No excuses, no panic, just preparation for whatever the basketball gods decided to throw at them. This victory provided more than just a win in the standings. It demonstrated that resilience isn't just some motivational poster slogan coaches hang in locker rooms. It's real. It's tangible. It's something this team could touch and hold and point to when people questioned whether they had championship DNA. They walked out of Los Angeles with concrete evidence of their mental toughness, proof that they could stare adversity in the face and smile back. But Odyssey Sims wasn't alone in this masterpiece. Standing beside her was Aliyah Boston, the anchor of everything Indiana represents, delivering a performance that belonged in a museum. 22 points powering their offense like a perfectly tuned engine. 11 rebounds, controlling the front court against the Sparks like she owned every inch of paint in that building. 4 assists, keeping the ball moving and finding teammates when they needed her most. And then 6 steals, a career-high number that showed her comprehensive impact on both ends of the floor. Boston's defining moment came with just 1.9 seconds left on the clock. Los Angeles was desperate, trying to create one last miracle. But Boston read the play like she'd seen it 1,000 times before. She reached in, ripped the ball clean out of their hands, and ended the game on the spot. No drama, no scramble, no last-second heroics needed. Just a superstar recognizing the moment and shutting the door with authority. But what Boston said after the game matters even more than what she did during it. When reporters asked about this team's ability to fight through adversity, she delivered a message that's still sending shockwaves through social media. Next woman up. Simple words, but they carry the weight of everything this franchise believes in. When one player goes down, everyone else leans in harder. When adversity strikes, you don't make excuses, you find solutions. This wasn't just some throwaway phrase either. Boston had demonstrated it through her own play, carrying a massive load while still trusting her teammates in critical possessions. The game served as living proof of their culture, showing that Boston's leadership acts as the glue keeping Indiana steady during their darkest moments. Her influence extends far beyond any statistic, reaching into the confidence and belief system that allows role players to become heroes when their number gets called. This victory locked Indiana into 6th place temporarily, building a crucial safety cushion over Seattle while forcing the Sparks further back in the standings. Their playoff berth feels significantly more secure now, but not because of luck or some miraculous bounce that went their way. It's secure because this entire team believes in the mindset Boston described, where identity means more than motivational speeches and translates into practical results when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest. But there's one name that wasn't on the court tonight, and it's the name every single fan can't stop talking about: Caitlin Clark. She's been sidelined with a groin injury for what feels like forever, missing 17 straight games while her team battled through the most challenging stretch of their season. Yet, for the first time in weeks, there are legitimate signs of hope. Clark is back in practice gear. She's participating in team shoot-arounds. She's warming up pregame and moving around with the group, looking closer to herself than she has since the injury first occurred. The timing couldn't be more intriguing or more crucial. Indiana has only 5 games left on their regular season calendar, and every single one matters because playoff positioning is hanging by the thinnest of threads. Right now they sit in 6th place, just half a game ahead of Seattle, and nobody in that locker room is comfortable with such a narrow margin. Dropping even one contest could mean tumbling in the standings and potentially missing the postseason entirely. But here's where things get really exciting. Clark's return could change everything in an instant. Before the injury took her out, she was averaging 19 points and 8 assists per game. She wasn't just filling up a stat sheet. She was dictating pace, opening up driving lanes for Boston, and getting shooters like Kelsey Mitchell cleaner looks than they'd seen all season. Those numbers can't be faked, and they completely change how every defense has to prepare against Indiana. This victory proved the Fever can survive without their biggest star, and that's impressive enough on its own. But imagine what they could accomplish with Clark back on the floor. Suddenly the conversation shifts from can they just hang on to can they make serious noise if they reach the playoffs? The risk of aggravating the groin injury still lingers like a dark cloud. But with just days left before the postseason begins, Clark's return could transform Indiana from desperate survivors into legitimate contenders overnight. What we witnessed tonight carries weight that stretches well past any box score or highlight reel. With every sign pointing toward Clark inching closer to a return, the season suddenly feels like it's just getting started rather than winding down. This wasn't just about surviving one game in Los Angeles. It was about setting up something much bigger on the horizon, something that could define not just this season, but the entire future of this franchise. This represents proof that Indiana can fight, survive, and thrive even without their biggest star on the floor. Every possession showed toughness that can't be taught. Every extra effort play reminded fans that this team refuses to fold when it matters most. They're learning how to close games under the most intense fire imaginable, and that kind of growth is absolutely priceless when you're trying to build a championship culture. For Fever fans everywhere, Hope feels more alive right now than it has in months, and it's burning even brighter when you think about 2025 and beyond. A team that can win this way, with this much heart and this much resilience, has only just begun to scratch the surface of what they're capable of achieving. If you're as pumped up about this team as we are, make sure to comment Big Fever Win below, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment of what promises to be an absolutely incredible journey. The best is yet to come, and we'll be right here to bring you every single moment of it